Greetings, this is Dr. Meredith Davis, and this is my channel. And so today I want to pose 4 questions to my white allies, and I encourage my black brothers and sisters to ask these questions and to have these conversations with white people that you know, that you encounter, your associates, your coworkers, those in close proximity to you. And part of the reason I've been thinking about this question is because when I'm looking at the protests on TV, I'm like, wow, it is so many people out here. It is so many white folk. I ain't seen this many white folks since Woodstock. Okay? I ain't seen this many white folk in a long time outside, all together, and we're all on one accord, and we're all galvanized, and we're getting excited about the work that is happening, and people are protesting about Black Lives Matter, and while I'm excited about it, I'm always cautious, and that's just probably the practitioner in me, the theoretician in me, because the March on Washington had white folk in it. Selma, a lot of marches have white people in it, and that's good. That's wonderful. That's how it's supposed to be. But I also wonder just how much about this life you really, really are. And it requires a certain way of thinking. And so I want to pose these 4 questions. The first one is, are you willing for your children to attend schools that have a curriculum that teaches about anti-blackness, that teaches about white supremacy, that teaches about white privilege, that talks about the founding fathers and their racist antics and the ways in which they owned slaves and how, the multifaceted ways in which white supremacy and white privilege exist in this country? Are you ready for your children to learn that? And if you are, thank you. And I'm so glad you're in these streets with us. And if not, I'm going to need you to step it up some, because you can't just be in the streets with us and your children aren't learning about us. Okay? It has to be multifaceted and multi-tiered. My second question is, are you ready for us to live in your neighborhoods? Now, some have probably traveled far and wide to be in these urban streets, because I'm sure everybody's not right around the corner from where these protests are going, okay? So I'm sure people are packing lunches, driving, catching trains, all kinds of stuff to get here. And we appreciate you fighting on our behalf. We appreciate you fighting on your behalf, because racism is a disease. Anti-blackness is a disease. And if I'm not free truly as a white person, you're not free either, because you're collateral damage in this capitalist society as well. But that's a whole nother conversation we're going to have. But I just want to know, are we welcome in your neighborhoods? When you come out to get your little newspaper off the lawn and you see us next door, how do you feel? How do you feel when your neighborhood is starting to look more diverse, including and especially black people? How are you feeling about that? And if there's some uneasiness in your bones, if you're looking out the window way too much and peeking through the blinds, then I'm gonna need you to do some more work, because you can't be commuting to the protest. You can't be transporting yourself to a protest saying you fighting for Black Lives Matter, but they only matter if they don't live in your neighborhood. That's just not finna work. Okay, that's not going to work. So we're going to need you to think about the ways in which you can see us in the target and be okay with that, that you're okay with us going to your schools, the schools that you attend, because there are schools too, and wherever I plant myself is where I belong, okay? So we're going to need you to step it up some. And for those who don't feel any way whatsoever, thank you, and we are glad you are in this fight. The third one, are you ready to worship with us in spirit and in truth? Yeah. Are you ready to worship with us in spirit and in truth? Are you ready for us to attend churches that look like that look like the churches you attend? Are you ready for us to worship the same God? Are you ready for your faith to be based in revolutionary praxis and social justice work? Or are you still worshiping where you got a Jesus that looks like a hippie in Woodstock that's been smoking weed? Okay, looks like Fabio. No, 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 no. Are you ready to really be about this life? And if so, you should be comfortable being in a church with black folk. And no, we not finna just celebrate black folk in February. I be doggone, that's not finna happen. There needs to be a worship that is inclusive, that is talking about the social justice praxis of Jesus. And I'm talking to Christians in particular because there really are some challenges with how, there's an expectation for black folk to worship this white Jesus. And it's just ridiculous. So I want to know, you in these streets and we talking about you singing We Shall Overcome and Amazing Grace out here in these protests. Is Amazing Grace the same grace that's going to enable you to be next to us in a worship service? And if so, I thank you. And if not, I'm going to need you to find a God that's a little more open-minded than the one you already got. Okay? Because we need all of your life. We need all of your life and everything that you invest in to be true to this cause. And finally, and I will give a pretext to this because everybody has preferences. But if there's a challenge in your blonde-haired, blue-eyed daughter bringing home a black man or a black woman as a date, as a partner, as someone that they're interested in, if that makes you uneasy, if that makes your skin crawl, then I'm going to need you to not be holding my hands out in these protests because you're really not about that life. And let's just be clear, we all have preferences. I have preferences. My preference is black men. I just like black men. I like black men. I like dark, beautiful black men. But I also understand that, people have preferences. But if your preference is rooted in feeling like there's something inferior about black people and you don't want your children marrying black people and you don't want black people in your most intimate spaces, then I'm going to need you to go ahead and get that train back the way you came from. Because we don't need you fighting a battle for us and you're really not about this life. And so in thinking about all of the experiences, the sum total of who you are as an individual, it's going to require some serious structural change. And it's going to require some philosophical shifts in the way in which you see people. And it can't just be because you're hyped because you've been in the house for 2 months because of COVID, that now you in these streets tearing stuff up, you in these streets fighting against the police, but you really don't want us around. You only want to see us when it's convenient. So I encourage my black brothers and sisters to ask these types of questions of white folk who say they are in your corner. And if they agree to all of these things and they're excited, or even if they don't agree to them, but they look forward to figuring out how to shift their mindset, I am so excited. Let's keep doing this work. And for those that are a little squeamish about it, then just stay home. Why? Don't bother. Don't be fraud about this. Don't be fake about it. We need real folk because we're going to need you again and again and again and again. So those are my 4 questions. I'm glad you stopped by to see me. The haters are going to hate. The tired are going to be tired. But we got to stay woke, folk.